Well, hello, everybody. It's Dr. Sashin. Welcome back to the Women in Transition podcast. I am your host, Dr. Sashin, and this video episode is late, but it is still Thursday and we're still getting it done. Welcome. If you're catching me on YouTube, say hello. If you're watching the replay, say hello. If you're catching me wherever you listen, say hello or come over to YouTube and leave me a comment. Dr. Sashin is the page. Deep breath. It has been a long whirlwind week here, and a lot of things have happened that I think that we need to talk about in the perspective of, are you surviving? And if you are in survival mode, which so many people are, not knocking that, but if you're in survival mode, it's going to be hard to decide what's next, because what you need to survive is very different than what you need to live and thrive, right? So today's episode is all about understanding that a better life awaits, but it might mean it's time to move your home base. And the reason it might be time to move your home base is because sometimes you can't get there from here. Okay. Sometimes you really can't get there from here. And we like to have the illusion, sorry, my little ponytail's up here. We like to have the illusion that if we just continue to stay the course, we'll get there. If we just keep trying harder, we'll get there. If we just keep pulling ourselves up by the bootstraps, we'll get there. But let me ask you the question. Is it that you aren't trying hard enough, or is it that where you're planted is rocky soil? Is it that where you're planted doesn't have the right nutrients to foster your new seeds that are trying to grow where you have been planted, but the soil just doesn't support who you've become or who you're trying to become, right? And I think it's important to have that conversation when the world is at it's sometimes um Hmm. When the world is at a tipping point and things are shifting rapidly and history is being written, it's time for you to think about how your history is going to be written, how your family's history is going to be written. I forgot my earrings. Oh well. And what you hope that story looks like 100 years from now, or even 25 years from now, right? Because as odd as it may sound, in 25 years, this all is going to be the history that we're living. And what is it going to mean when you look back on it? Because newsflash, most of us will still be here in 25 years. Yep, most of us will still be here in 30 years. A lot of y'all are going to be here for another 40, 50, or 60 years. So again, welcome to the podcast. I really hope that you get something important out of this, that you take from it, not a feeling like frustration, like, oh, great, now I got to figure out something else, but more like a call, a a smoke signal from the future. Hi, that is going to ask you to follow a path, one that may take you places that you don't intend to go, but on that journey, you'll get to where you want to be. So there are three things I want to talk about with you today. Number one, survival you versus living you is really important for you to recognize where you are right now. Because what you need to survive is not what you need to live. And you might be thinking, I'm doing all of these things to live my life, but you're living in survival mode. So every decision that you make is through the filter of surviving, getting through to the next day, not losing what you have, gaining back what you might have lost. You your choices from that place, our choices from that place, right, are made with a tinge of anxiety. Because you want to make the right decisions in situations where your life might be on the line. And that might be metaphorically, or that might be literally, right? And so, because you want to make those important decisions and you want to get it right, oh my gosh, you want to get it right. Um, the anxiety that comes with that can sometimes put the right decision slightly out of focus, or make the wrong decision put it into much focus, put the wrong decision into much focus. And in doing either one of those paralyze you from making decisions that could lead you away from where you are because we're surviving in the moment and the moment is all we can see. It's the only thing that we can see. And because it's the only thing that we can see, it's hard to see around it, which is why the better life that you're looking for, the better place, the next chapter may have to come after something very radical, which leads me to my second point. Survival you is never going to make the decision to do something radical because when you're surviving, radical feels just like something else to do, right? When you're just in survival mode, radical just feels like one more thing on your plate, one more decision you have to make, one more set of circumstances you have to navigate through, one more set of finances you got to figure out, one more set of logistics you got to put on your back. But unfortunately, the next radical decision is the one that you need to make, and you need to make it now. If the soil beneath you is full of all the stuff that's been happening in survival, it is not fertile ground for living. Let me say that to you again. If the soil beneath your feet, metaphorically, physically, and every other elite out there, if the soil beneath your feet is full of bad nutrients, if it's done its job and sucked down all the things that have held you down, if it's full of rocks and non-beneficial bugs, because there are those, not every bug in the garden is beneficial, right? If the soil beneath your feet has been the garden that you've had to tend in survival, it is not made for you to live in. It is not designed for you to live in. And in fact, we know, science tells us that once topsoil, good, fertile topsoil is gone, the ground is barren, it is fallow. It can't grow anything because there's nothing left in the ground to produce new life. That may be where you're standing. In survival, it's very easy to stop looking around for the exit and just till the ground that you're on, not realizing that the barren ground that you're tilling and tilling and tilling cannot produce anything else for you, and you're stuck. You're in the quicksand, in the quagmire, trying to figure out how do I get this barren ground that I keep tilling to produce not only the same thing it's been producing so that I can survive, but something new so that I can get out of this moment. And the reality is it can't. It can't produce anything else because all your topsoil is gone. All of the good stuff that allows the green stuff, the stuff of life to grow, is depleted. And your survival does not allow room to figure out how to replenish the nitrogen, how to replenish the good bacterias, how to bring in how to compost it and turn barren dirt into living soil. Because you're in survival, and survival you doesn't have time to figure that part out. Survival you is still trying to figure out how to get another potato out of the ground, another tomato off the vine, right? I don't want you to be discouraged, but I want you to take a good hard look at what's happening in your world right now. And if you are living with survival you, then the person that you need to become to live is not here yet because they can't be. It's just there's no room, there's no space there. Times have come to those who live in them. Times have come that force us to sometimes reckon with that reality that the life that we had before a certain moment is just different now, right? That's not always a bad thing, but sometimes it is a bad thing. Sometimes it is a bad thing. But when we are faced with that, when the moment comes where we realize, okay, this moment is just different now. It's just different now, and I've got to figure out whether this moment can be lived in this place. And if it can be, how do I make it so that I'm living in this place and not just hanging on by the skin of my teeth to survive? Now, for some people, this is going to sound like a clarion call to run away from your problems. And they're going to say things like, well, you can't take your, wherever you go, there you are. Yep, that is absolutely true. But I'm going to repeat to you what I say often, which is, the grass may in fact be greener on the other side, and people telling you that it's not might be standing on astroturf. So why are you listening to them? Why are you listening to them? Because the reality is, how do you know what you can do or who you can be or where you want to go if you can only focus on today? How does your dream have room to breathe and and grow its wings and give you legs to walk towards it, if the bills and the or, not even the bills, I mean, it could be the bills, but if the weight, that's the word, if the weight of the living that you're in is has you feeling like Atlas, statue, world on shoulders, if that's how it feels every day, how can you know what you really want? How can you know what you really want? I was listening to a talk a couple days ago from Rashida Dow, who has a really good video out right now that I'll link to in the comments. And she raised an interesting question, which is what prompted me to want to make this video. She's in the Black expat movement, and she runs Exodus Summit. She co-runs Exodus Summit, co-founded Exodus Summit. And so she talks about relocating, getting out. She lives in Mexico. So I was listening to talk that she just did, and she asked the question, do you want what you want? So we all think that we want something. And I'm going to take this a step further. How do you know what you want when all you're doing is surviving? Because it may be that what you think you want, you have literally zero interest in, but you need it to survive. You need it to survive this version of the life that you're living. You need it to make sense out of the choices that you have to make in this moment. But how do you know that they're the choices that you would make if your cortisol levels weren't so high? If you were drunk on serotonin and not stress? Would these be the same desires, wants, and dreams of your life if you woke up every day with a feeling of ease and peace and not one of anxiety and scarcity? Do you want what you want because you want it to live? Or do you want what you want because survival is a fickle master and it does not allow you to dream too far beyond just surviving because it can't? It can't see beyond survival, and you don't get to see beyond survival either. You don't have to have all the answers about what's next for you, but you do have to ask the question about what's next. If you're going to get out of just surviving and move back to a place of living, because I would hazard to say that if I polled my audience, a number of you would say life was not terrible. It wasn't maybe everything I wanted, but it wasn't terrible. And I thought I had time to pursue A, B, C, X, Y, Z. And then the world changed in less than 2 years, y'all. The world has changed, significantly changed. And I say this as someone who lives in the United States and understands that there is a level of delusion that sometimes comes with living in the West. The world's always changing, but the buffer between reality and between the West and reality is pretty thick, right? But that buffer is falling, and it's falling rapidly. And so you might be asking yourself, should I even be thinking about what you're talking about? Should I be thinking about the next best chapter of my life when literally the world is going through seismic shifts? Yes, this is exactly when you need to be thinking about it. This is exactly the moment where you need to start thinking maybe home base needs to look like something different. Maybe my home, um, the place that I call home, the place where I've tilled and gardened my life is toxic soil now. And if it is, why am I afraid of leaving it behind for potentially more fertile ground? Not greener pastures. Don't you go try and take somebody else's pastures from them. You haven't built those pastures up. But for potentially fertile ground, now that's something that you can focus on. Because your life, your desires, your dreams, your wants, those wants we talked about, they're all out there beyond this moment. And they're not accessible when you are in survival. They're simply not. In order to get out of survival, you've got to start asking, what is the next best, not survivable, not not most important. The next best step that I can take to start living the life that lowers my cortisol levels, raises my serotonin levels, comes from a place of leaning into joy and not running away from fear. And how do I get closer to that life? What is the next best thing that I can do to get closer to that life? What is the next best step I can take in my current situation to get closer to the woman who gets to live the way that she wants to live, not the way she's being forced to survive. And I'm saying that even though you might be in survival mode now, that you are one decision away from not being in survival mode anymore. Think about all of the people who lost their jobs suddenly. One day they were employed, the next day they were not. No control. No control over that, right? And instinctively some people went and started hunting for another job, but some people said this was not right. It was not fair. And now I have some decisions to make about the rest of my life. Some people recognized that they were in survival mode and had been for years and have chosen to pursue other things to see if they can make a life worth living and not just surviving through. And it's not, in fact, a bad thing to think about how does the life that I just got dropped kicked out of not become the life that I'm trying to drop kick myself back into, right? Like, how do I not repeat the pattern? Because it's easy to keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. And some of us don't even realize that we don't want a different result. We just want the same thing because it's comfortable, even though it's painful, high blood pressure, heart attacks, stress, billion-dollar therapy industry, bil- multiple billion-dollar self-help industry. Um, but now, when the world is squeezing people. Not every place in the world. I keep saying the things that are happening in the world are not happening at the same place, in the same place, at the same time, at the same rate. But as the world squeezes some of us, the question becomes, are you just going to continue to be squeezed? Or is it time to think about s- the living part? Because what do you really want? And do you even know what you really want because you've been faking it for so long? And if you had the opportunity to pursue something that you really wanted, are you terrified that it won't be accepted because people are going to be like, we're at, DEF CON 9,000 and we think there are bigger issues than your desires. Sweethearts, there are no bigger issues than your desires. And I'll tell you why. Because the people who are running things are living by their desires and what they want. And they are hard pressed to be told that what they want does not matter. Wouldn't believe you if you told them, don't care at all that you might believe that. And so you need to start asking yourself, why do I have to sacrifice myself for somebody else's desires and then have people shame me for pursuing or for pursuing mine? That might mean, stay with me, that a better life, fertile soil, better sleep, less stress is only going to be possible by relocating yourself and your family to some place that you may not ever have dreamed you would go, but all of a sudden you realize it's a step in the right direction. It's no longer out of focus. It's no longer the lesser of 14,000 evils, right? It's no longer the least sharp edged knife in the drawer that can cut you. It's a choice, a decision. The apex of what I have to do, what I want to do, what I need to do might be someplace else on different kind of soil, different kind of grass. So those AstroTurf folks, don't listen to them. Not at all. So what is next for a lot of you? That's a question that you're going to have to answer and one that I encourage you to think about now, not later. As I've been saying since the beginning of the year, make no plans, make no decisions, do nothing. At the top of Lunar New Year, February 17th, I said, make some plans. Start figuring out what you're going to do and start doing it. Start breaking it down into chunks and start acting on the pieces. So I'm going to continue to tell you, it is time to start acting on the pieces. One of the pieces that I've acted upon that is important to me that I've been putting off and been thinking about it for a whole year was starting a new group. It's called the Writers Room for Aspiring Fiction Writers because I'm segueing part of my writing life into fiction, which is a near and dear to my heart, not writing true crime. Don't get excited. But what I do want is a place for aspiring fiction writers, or not just aspiring, but fiction writers, especially Black women. But if you're not a Black woman, you're still welcome. But just to know that I'm a Black woman, I'm going to run a group for Black women to come to collaborate in community to get our stories out there. Because the one thing I do believe, especially with the scraping of so many things into AI and the dehumanization of the world, that our stories matter more now than ever. Whatever kind of stories that you want to tell, the world needs them desperately. And so I'm going to put my stories out there in the world. And I wanted a place where I could go bounce ideas in community with other writers, going through the same struggles, enjoying the same ups, understanding the downs together, a place of a marketplace where people who are writer adjacent, artists and illustrators and editors and publishers and all those kinds of people can find those writers, but a place where the writers themselves feel like they have a spot of community. Because as this channel has tried to show, if nothing else, community is very, very important if we're going to survive anything. And it's really important if we're going to live. And I am more interested in living than in just surviving. So if you're interested in the Facebook group, again, it's called the Writers Room. You can find us on Facebook at the link here. I'll drop the link in the description of the video as well. Look forward to seeing those of you who are launching a writing career, already into writing career, or adjacent to the writing world. Come on in and say hi. I try to post every day. I also try to post submission things that come across that don't fit me, but might fit other people. Because again, this is about sharing in community, getting our stories out into the world, whether that's through traditional publishing or self-publishing. But having conversations and accountability is the only way that any of us are going to do anything. So that's one of the first things that I did after the Lunar New Year was make the decision that it's time to jump into, or walk gently into, I'm not jumping into anything, one of the next chapters of my life, which is fiction author. If you like this video, please like and share because YouTube's doing some crazy things. So please like and share and subscribe to the channel. We are back on track. I did have some unexpected company this week, which is why this video is late. But make sure that you do like and subscribe to the channel, where I will still continue to do the podcast because Women in Transition is it's my baby. Helping Gen X women, especially Black Gen X women, but Gen X women make the next best chapter of their life better than the one before. Much better than the one before. But we're not going to get there if we keep surviving through things instead of stepping out of the narrative of survival and starting to craft one of living. And that's scary. And it's going to be scary. And it's going to trip some people's fears. But as I said, when the Lunar New Year flipped over, do it afraid. It's time to do it afraid because waiting is not going to get you anywhere. The days that are passing are different. The quality of time is different now. And we don't want the next 5 years to pass and be anything less than what we deserve. That's it for the moment. It's Dr. Sasheen. Thank you so much for listening. Again, please like, subscribe, and share. And join us over in the Writers Room, or let some people know who might need a community of writers to call home to also join us over there. And I will see you on Sunday. Take care, everyone. Bye for now.